So I have thus far tested 3 different types of car dash cams, one that only had the front dash cam and 2 that had both the front and rear dash cam, which I think is the best combination for your money. So in this video I'll be showing you how to install a front and rear connected dash cam for your vehicle. So let's go ahead and get started with the materials that you need. Now, depending on what model you end up buying, they may come with a few extra goodies, such as these clips that you can stick all over your dashboard to help with cable management. Otherwise, you're just going to have to put in a little bit of money to buy these separately, and I'll put the links below to all these extra stuff that you may need to buy in addition to the dash cam in the description down below. Complementary to these cable clips, you also might need to get some Velcro because you may need to actually run your wire on the ceiling of your car, so you just need the Velcro to kind of stick to the upholstery. And again, these are pretty cheap. I'll again put the link in the description. And finally, this is kind of optional, but it's definitely a great help, is to have a power bank. That way you can actually see where your camera is facing before it's actually mounted. And it'll make a lot more sense later on in this video. So you can actually mount either the rear or front camera first, whichever, it doesn't really matter. For this video, I'm just going to show you how to mount the front one first, because in case you don't have a rear one, you can just watch this part first. So from what I've seen with the 3 dash cams that I've tested, they usually have a mounting plate with a 3M backing, and then that mounting plate can be of course attached to the actual dash cam. So for the installation process, I normally have the mount attached to the actual camera first. So this is where the power bank comes in handy, because you can't really tell where the lens is pointing at unless the camera is actually turned on. And to do so, most of these don't have an actual battery, so you always have to have it connected to a power source in order for it to be on. So here I have it connected to my power bank, that way I can see through the screen exactly where my lens is pointing at, and I make the necessary adjustments to the angle of the lens, the position of the dash cam, before deciding exactly where to put the mount. So at this point, my mounting position is settled, so I remove the camera from the mount. It's easier this way from my experience, just so I can make sure the adhesive properly adheres to the windshield. So at this point, go ahead, peel off that plastic to expose the sticky portion, stick it onto that spot in the windshield, hold it down for at least a minute so it has a good connection with the surface. Let it just sit like that for a couple of minutes. Don't immediately add the dash cam to weigh it down. You need to make sure it has a proper adhering process. In the meantime, what you can do is set up the rear camera if you have one. So to do so, it's very similar to the front camera, except in this case you need the front camera as well as the power bank to get this thing to work, because the screen is only on the front camera. So again, you need to power the front camera, attach the wiring between the front camera and the rear camera. Go ahead and play around with the mounting positions for the rear camera until you're satisfied with the view that you can get. And then once again, go ahead and peel off that plastic portion to review the sticky side, stick it onto your rear window, and then hold it down for another good minute, let it sit. And then now you're ready to go ahead and think about the cable management running throughout the car. So this is where things get a little bit messy and disorganized looking, because usually the cables that come with these dash cam sets are really long, just to make sure that it's long enough for SUVs or trucks or bigger size cars. So if you have a subcompact car like I do, you're going to have a lot of wire left over. So to manage that stuff, you have to use these cable management clips, and then sometimes you just have to tie off extra length of cable. So what I did with both times that I mounted my cameras is, for the front camera, that wire needs to go all the way down to your auxiliary power port to power it. So I first run it up to the top part of my car, and then kind of run it to the right to the passenger side for US cars, and then I run it down along the side and then across the dashboard, just above the glove compartment to the side of my center console until I reach the auxiliary port. Any leftover cabling, I would zip tie it off and just let it kind of hang, or you could just kind of tape it or cable management it to the side of that center console toward where your legs are. So that's for the front camera, and then for the rear camera, you have to run the cable from the front camera all the way to the back. So for the rear camera, I try to use the ceiling as much as possible, just kind of hugging the edge between the top and the sides of the car, as you can see here, just kind of right above the window area, trying to make it as minimalistic as possible, even though it is pretty darn ugly. But anyway, running that length of wire all the way until you reach the rear camera, and since there's always a bunch of leftover wire, I kind of bundle it up in the corner, like so, just so that all the wire for the most part is hugging the ceiling, and then anything extra I just let it sit towards the back behind the seats. So anyways, that's just what I decided to do with the cable management for my particular car. It might vary for yours, and you can get creative during this part. There's no real set way to do cable management, and just try to make it look as clean as possible. But now you have to think about, how do you get these cable management clips in those specific places. So for the parts that are smoother surfaces, like your dashboard, plastic portions of your car. If you have a more luxurious car, I don't really know if you really want to go with this kind of dash mounting system, just because it might totally ruin the look of your car if you're really into that. But for me, I don't really care. I have plastic dash everywhere, so this is why I stick directly those cable management clips. It has the same 3M sticky backing as you have for the mounting system, so you just stick it on as you need. Kind of space it out in between. You don't need to add a whole bunch of them to manage your cables. As long as there's not a great length of cable where it can flex around, you're totally fine. And then for the ceiling, this is where the Velcro comes into play. So I take my scissors, I cut up little squares of these Velcro, and I do so by lining it up with the actual cable management bases so that they line up perfectly. Afterwards, it's the same story. The back of the Velcro is the same sticky material, so I stick the sticky material of the Velcro to the sticky side of the cable management clips. They adhere together very simply, and then now the back of the cable management clip is Velcro, so you can just stick it to the upholstery, the top part of your car, to hold up the cables there. So now everything's in place. You have the mounts for both cameras in place. You got the cable management clips all adhered properly. Now you just gotta run all the wiring, reattach the front camera to the mounts, and you're all set. So it's a really simple process from there. To test out if the camera is set up properly, all you need to do is turn on the engine of your car. Your front camera should kick into play. Your rear camera should be filming as well if you wanted it to. And then you're all set at this point. In the future, I do expect the car manufacturers are going to have these dash cameras built right into the car, so you don't need to worry about this wiring mess in the future or buying third party. But in the meantime, this is really the best you can go with. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. As usual, if you have any questions, just leave it in the comment section down below. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for more tutorials and product reviews like this. Thanks for watching.